Because we find that the more compassionate a devotee becomes, the more he's willing to do whatever is necessary to reach out to the fallen souls. And therefore, persons very much misunderstand. And this is very much the case with Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada. All of their apparent, what people accuse to be deviations, were their different ways and means of reaching out, individually as well as collectively, to the conditioned souls, to give them, to uplift them. So many times, people who were genuinely seeking shelter, grasping for shelter, becoming very attached to Prabhupada, very special mercy, and people were very much misunderstanding, criticizing. But to speak of the people in general, how to reach them, how to get them to become attached to Krishna. This is the constant meditation of the great souls. So here we're reading about Lord Shiva, how much he was criticized. It is said here that people think he's ferocious and envious because he's wandering in the crematorium grounds. According to the Shastra, this is worship in the mode of ignorance. What pure Vaishnava is in the mode of ignorance? You expect him to be at the temple worshiping the deities. Instead, he's not at the temple. He's not worshiping the deities. He's at the crematorium grounds, covering his body with the ashes of burnt bodies. According to the Shastra, this is the process for those in the mode of tamagun. So what's Lord Shiva doing like this? Even Daksha, who was his own father-in-law, how much he criticized and condemned Lord Shiva. Worshipping snakes is also considered a worship in the mode of ignorance. So Lord Shiva has snakes on his body, covered with crematorium ashes, plus sometimes he's seen smoking ganja, which is against the four regulative principles. If you smoke ganja, if you're sitting in the temple smoking ganja, and someone says, what are you doing? Don't criticize, Lord Shiva did it. You do not know who I am. People will think you're totally crazy. Not only that, you'll have to leave the temple and live at Babunath temple. What to do? You cannot do it, but Lord Shiva's doing it, and yet the greatest Vaishnavas are worshipping him. It's an activity thoroughly in the mode of ignorance, smoking ganja, hashish. And it is said you can tell who a person is by who he is associating with. Lord Shiva's often associating with bhutas, ghosts, people who are addicted to the most abominable activities. So from all material reasoning, it appears that what kind of Vaishnava is this? And therefore, many, many great souls have criticized him and condemned him. And every one of them had to pay the consequence. Because Lord Shiva's only business engaging in these activities is to show compassion to those persons. Patita Pavan. Lord Shiva is Patita Pavan. He's the uplifter of the most fallen. He's going down to the places of those in the mode of ignorance. And he's even behaving like them, just to gain their faith. It is not that he likes ganja. It is not that he's attached to the ashes of dead bodies. He's indifferent to all these things. But to show compassion to this class of men, he's willing to even go to that extent. So all of his apparent deviations from the traditions of the ways of a Vaishnava are simply out of love, simply out of compassion, to get these people to become attached to him. That's really all he's trying to do. Get these people in the modes of ignorance to become attached to me, and when they become attached to me, gradually they will also become purified by following what I say, by following my footsteps. Similarly, it is here said that persons who do not know your austerity see you moving with uma. They misunderstand you to be lusty. After all, Lord Shiva is the Lord and Master of the yogis and great renunciates. And how he is moving with Uma, with Parvati, so intimately. Sometimes, as described in Bhagavatam, he is giving pravachan and Uma is sitting on his lap. Can you imagine? Even if a person's a grihasta, that's one thing. But a sannyasi, you would not expect this. But even a grihasta, you would not expect this. If you went to a lecture of some very great reciter of Bhagavatam, and you went into the lecture hall, and he was sitting there on his vyasa-san, and his wife is affectionately sitting on his lap with her arms around him, embracing him, what would you think? Would you think, well, he's a grihasta, so this is all right? You would think, what nonsense is this?
You were listening to Radhanath Swami on devotionalnectar.com.